Measured optimism in the oil markets as gas prices continue to churn downward. And once again, we're hearing that OPEC has no plans to manipulate the price of crude. Here in the United States, consumers are enjoying the extra savings. The average price of gas fell to under $2.56, the lowest price since 2009. But around the world, global markets are growing concerned. There's only one other time in history when the price of oil crashed by more than $40 in under 6 months' time. And you guessed it, it was in the tail end of 2008, just before the massive financial recession here in the United States. Now that oil is falling so dramatically, many investors are starting to pull back the reins. Wall Street took a nosedive last week after 7 straight weeks on the climb.
A grief-stricken scene in Quito, Ecuador this week after 13 people are dead and a dozen more injured at a power plant construction site. According to reports, a pressure well collapsed on the site, causing the tragedy. The power plant was a $2 billion project funded by a Chinese firm. According to the firm, they have reached out to authorities and are conducting an investigation into the incident. Over 2,000 people took part in a recent mission in Indonesia. Landslides have pummeled through areas of the region, causing 32 deaths and over 500 people to be displaced. These landslides have been triggered by a recent 7.1 earthquake that hit right off the coast of western Indonesia. Over 70 people are still missing. Rescue coordinators have pledged to continue their efforts in order to find all the victims. Syria's army made advances this week against insurgents in north of Aleppo. Pro-government forces have allegedly killed over 34 fighters from Islamic militant groups during the most recent attacks. The United Nations Syria envoy has asked for a ceasefire in Aleppo. He is asking for time to assist those needing humanitarian efforts. Over 200,000 people have lost their lives in the Syrian civil war since its beginning almost 4 years ago. Chinese government officials are on edge this week after a recent report was released on Islamic militants. According to the Global Times, around 300 Chinese extremists are involved in the Islamic State. Previous attacks on China's Xinjiang region has blamed on Chinese members of the East Turkestan Islamic movement. China officials believe that these militants are looking to create their own state in Xinjiang. Although China has expressed its fear over the threat of the Islamic State, they have shown no interest in joining the U.S.-led fight against them. Outrage over accusations pointed at a Qatar-based leader in Egypt. A red notice alert went out this month from Interpol requesting the arrest of Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi. Qaradawi is suspected of murder, arson, vandalism, and theft by Egyptian authorities. The International Union of Muslim Scholars demand his name be removed immediately. The group calls the allegations false and says Egyptian authorities should be more concerned with real criminals. Qaradawi is known for his outspoken words against Egyptian authority and support for the Muslim Brotherhood.
It's a holiday break for members of Congress. After a lot of drama, lawmakers finished their work over the weekend as the Senate passed a $1 trillion spending plan to avoid a government shutdown and keep the government funded through next fall. It didn't come easily, though. Fierce debate in the House, a lot of pushback in the Senate from Republican Ted Cruz and Democrat Elizabeth Warren. She took to the floor again on Friday to blast the bill, even though President Obama and hundreds of Democrats supported it. Warren says the bill doesn't do enough to punish big banks.
So let me say this to anyone who is listening at Citi. I agree with you. Dodd-Frank isn't perfect. It should have broken you into pieces.
Conservatives didn't get what they wanted either, not in total, the definition of compromise, but Republicans did manage to carry out a plan to only fund the Department of Homeland Security through February. This is in protest of President Obama's executive action on immigration, and this means that lawmakers will have to pick up debate over immigration and funding of Homeland Security in the new year under a Republican majority in the House and Senate. At the same time, Republicans face greater risk of public outcry should a terrorist attack happen while the Department of Homeland Security was out of commission. Of course, they're hoping they reach an agreement or a long-term solution before it ever comes to that. Well, there's gifts to buy, packages to ship, and time is running out. Yes, it is the holiday season, and it is here in full force. A lot of people are waking up on Monday saying, only 10 days left. That's right, December is flying by. And now top officials from the post office say that Monday is the busiest day of the entire year. U.S. Postal Office spokesman Maureen Mary says a typical Monday usually processes about 520 million pieces of mail. But this Monday, she says the letters and cards alone will increase by about 25 to 30 million pieces. And she did not say how many of those letters will be addressed to the North Pole.